The sound of the slap echoed through the quiet cafe like a gunshot. Ryan Cole stood perfectly still, his left cheek burning where the drunk's palm had connected. His hand remained wrapped around a cup of cold coffee. He did not flinch. Did not step backward. Did not raise his voice or ball his fists. He simply absorbed the blow like it was nothing more than wind. His dark eyes locked onto the man who had struck him, revealing absolutely nothing of what churned beneath the surface. The drunk laughed loudly, turning to his two companions with swagger. "Mind your own business, loser. We're just having some fun with the lady." Victoria Sinclair sat frozen at her corner table, breath caught somewhere between her throat and lungs. But she wasn't staring at Ryan because he'd just been publicly humiliated. She was staring because of the way he held himself in the aftermath of that blow. Calm. Centered. Completely controlled. There was something coiled beneath that stillness. Something waiting. Something dangerous. She had spent 3 years and considerable fortune searching for this man across 2 continents. And in the span of a single slap, she had finally found him. 6 hours earlier, Victoria sat alone in her Denver office, surrounded by paperwork that had consumed 36 months of her life. Morning sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting shadows across the mahogany desk buried beneath folders, photographs, and intelligence reports most civilians would never access. She picked up a photograph she'd studied countless times. Captain Daniel Sinclair smiled back at her. Handsome in his dress uniform. Eyes radiating confidence that had defined him since childhood. Her older brother. By 4 years. Her protector. Her hero. Missing in action for 4 years. The military had declared him presumed dead 2 years ago. But there had been no body. No funeral. No closure. Just a folded flag and condolences so hollow they echoed. Her phone buzzed. The investigator she'd retained, a man who charged more per day than most people earned in a month. "Miss Sinclair? I have something substantial. A final lead." Victoria straightened. "Tell me." "A man named Ryan Cole. Currently residing in Ridgewood, Colorado. About 2 hours from Denver. Former Special Operations. Call sign Ghost." The investigator paused. "According to classified reports I accessed, he was the last American soldier to see your brother alive during that final operation. Why has it taken 3 years to locate this man?" "Because he vanished completely after that mission. Changed addresses. Cut all ties. Lives like an actual ghost. The military protected his identity with extreme prejudice. He very clearly did not want to be found." Victoria stared at Daniel's photograph. At the confident smile she hadn't seen in 4 years. 4 years of watching their mother waste away from grief. Crying herself to sleep every night. 4 years of wondering whether her brother had died quickly or suffered. 4 years of a wound that refused to heal because it had no resolution. "Send me the exact address. I'm driving there today." The journey took just over 2 hours. Highway gradually giving way to winding mountain roads. Civilization falling away as the Rockies rose around her. Ridgewood appeared around the final bend like something preserved in amber. Main Street lined with locally owned shops. White church steeple rising above evergreens. Mountains framing everything in postcard perfection. Population just under 8,000, according to the faded sign at town limits. Victoria parked outside Pinewood Cafe, the place her investigator had identified as Ryan Cole's regular Saturday destination. According to surveillance, he visited every weekend. Always ordered black coffee. Always sat at the same spot at the bar. She checked the clock. 3:45 p.m. She would wait. The cafe owner, a woman in her mid-30s named Ellie, looked at Victoria with undisguised curiosity as she ordered a latte. Victoria knew she stood out. Her suit cost more than most people here earned in 2 months. Her watch caught light with every movement. She was accustomed to boardrooms and power lunches. Not cozy cafes with menus written on chalkboards. She selected a corner table with clear sight lines to the entrance. Opened her laptop. Settled in to wait. By 4 o'clock, the cafe had mostly emptied. Only a handful of customers remained, including 3 men occupying a cornered booth who'd clearly been drinking since before noon. They were locals, worn work clothes, easy familiarity with surroundings. Construction workers or ranch hands killing time. Victoria noticed them casting increasingly bold glances in her direction. She ignored them, keeping her attention on her laptop. The front door creaked open. A man walked in. Tall. Lean. Dark hair showing threads of gray. Stubble that hadn't seen a razor in days. Faded flannel shirt. Jeans showing evidence of mechanical work. Boots scuffed with grease. He looked like a mechanic. One of thousands who formed the invisible backbone of small-town America. But Victoria recognized him instantly from the old military photograph. Older now. More worn. But unmistakably Ryan Cole. Ghost. Her heart hammered. 3 years of searching. Dead ends. Promising leads that evaporated. And here he was. Nodding casually to the cafe owner. Ordering black coffee in a voice too quiet for Victoria to hear. Settling onto a stool at the bar like it was simply another unremarkable Saturday. She started to rise, rehearsing the opening lines she'd practiced. But the 3 drunk men in the corner booth rose first. The largest, face flushed red from hours of drinking, pushed himself upright and began walking toward Victoria's table. His 2 companions followed. One positioning himself to her left. The other drifting toward the exit. Whether by instinct or deliberate intention, she couldn't determine. Hey there, beautiful. The leader planted both hands on her table, leaning forward. His breath carried the sour evidence of cheap beer. Sitting all alone on a beautiful Saturday. That's practically a crime in a friendly town like ours. Victoria kept her voice flat. Cold. I'm not interested in company. Come on now. Just have one drink with us. We'll show you real Ridgewood hospitality. The second man pulled out a chair and dropped into it beside her without asking. His knee pressed against hers beneath the table with obvious intent. The third had completed his drift. Now stood between her and the door. Not quite blocking the exit entirely, but making the message clear. I said no. Back off now. The leader's smile widened into something unpleasant. Feisty. I like that. He reached toward her shoulder with a meaty hand. No. The voice came from behind them. From the direction of the bar. Quiet. Calm. Carrying the absolute finality of a door closing forever. Ryan had risen from his stool without making a sound. He stood perhaps 8 feet away. Hands loose at his sides. Posture apparently casual and completely unthreatening. Nothing about his appearance suggested danger. He looked exactly like what his worn clothes advertised. A small-town mechanic who'd made the poor decision to involve himself in matters that didn't concern him. The drunk leader turned with exaggerated slowness. Looked Ryan up and down with theatrical disdain. And laughed. Who the hell are you supposed to be? Her boyfriend? Just someone who heard her say no. Twice. Yeah? Well, here's some free advice, buddy. Mind your own goddamn business before you get hurt. This is my business. Ryan's voice remained perfectly level. Almost gentle. Everyone in this cafe is my business. The drunk stepped away from Victoria's table and approached Ryan until they stood less than 2 feet apart. He puffed his chest. Set his jaw in the universal posture of a man who'd won countless bar fights through intimidation alone. You want to play hero? Fine, hero. Let me show you what heroes get. He swung his open palm across Ryan's face with all the force his alcohol-impaired coordination could muster. The slap connected with a crack that silenced every other sound in the room. Ryan did not move. His cheek flushed bright red where the blow had landed. But his dark eyes never left the drunk's face. And something in that steady, unwavering gaze made the temperature seem to drop. That's what heroes get, the drunk said, his voice wavering now despite his bravado. Now sit back down before I really... He never finished the sentence. Ryan moved. Not with flashy cinematic speed, but with something far more unsettling. Brutal efficiency that wasted nothing. that transformed violence into simple physics. In the first second, he captured the drunk's extended wrist, twisted it against the joint in a direction wrists weren't designed to bend, used the leverage to slam the man face first onto the nearest table. The impact rattled every dish in the cafe. In the second, the drunk's friend launched himself forward from the chair. Ryan sidestepped the clumsy charge, hooked the man's momentum, redirected it into a throw that deposited him flat on his back on the hardwood floor. In the third second, the remaining drunk produced a folding knife. The blade clicked open. Ryan didn't hesitate. He closed the distance before the knife could rise, delivered a precise kick to the man's wrist that sent the weapon spinning away, captured the arm, torqued it behind the man's back, drove him firmly to his knees. 3 men. 3 seconds. No blood spilled. No furniture broken. No shouting or chaos. Just 3 bodies either prone on the floor or kneeling in complete submission. Ryan straightened, rolled his shoulders as if loosening a minor kink. "Ellie," he said calmly, turning toward the bar. "Would you mind calling Sheriff Patterson?" The cafe owner nodded, already reaching for the phone. Her expression suggested mild surprise but definitely not shock, as if she'd perhaps witnessed this man perform similar feats before. Ryan looked down at the 3 incapacitated drunks. "You're going to wait here quietly until the sheriff arrives. You're going to cooperate fully. Understood?" None of them offered even a whisper of argument. Then he turned to Victoria. His voice softened by the smallest increment. "Are you okay?" Victoria found herself unable to respond immediately. She'd read his service record, studied the declassified portions of his mission history, knew the statistics and commendations and official language that described his capabilities. But reading about special operations on paper and watching those capabilities deployed in person were entirely different experiences. "You're him," she finally managed, voice barely above a whisper. "Your ghost." Ryan went completely still. It was the first moment since entering the cafe that his composure showed any crack. Something flickered behind his dark eyes. Something that looked like fear. Or perhaps like the sudden pain of an old wound reopened. "That name belonged to a different life," he said quietly. "A different man. One I buried 4 years ago." The sheriff arrived within 10 minutes. A weathered man in his 50s who seemed more annoyed at having his Saturday disrupted than concerned about the disturbance. He handcuffed the 3 drunks without asking many questions, loaded them into his patrol car with practiced ease, drove away. In a town this small, everyone clearly knew Ryan Cole wasn't the type to start trouble without cause. After the cruiser's taillights disappeared, the cafe fell into uncertain quiet. Most remaining customers had fled during the confrontation or were now settling their checks with unusual haste. Within minutes, only Ryan, Victoria, and Ellie remained. "Who are you?" Ryan asked, voice cold and guarded. "Victoria Sinclair?" Ryan's shoulders tightened almost imperceptibly. A micro-expression of recognition quickly suppressed. "I don't know anyone by that name." "You knew my brother, Captain Daniel Sinclair? Afghanistan. 4 years ago." The silence between them stretched taut. Ryan turned and walked toward the door. "Please." Victoria moved quickly, positioning herself between him and the exit. "I've spent 3 years searching for you. You're the only person still alive who knows what actually happened to Daniel. You're my last hope. Your brother is classified missing in action. That's the official record. That's all I'm authorized to say. That's a military answer. I need the truth. Sometimes the military answer is the only answer that exists. He's my brother." The words burst from her chest with force she couldn't contain. "My mother has cried herself to sleep every night for 4 years. We can't grieve properly because we don't know if we should be grieving. We can't move forward because there's no resolution. Is he dead? Is he alive somewhere suffering? Did he die quickly or slowly? We're trapped in limbo. And you're the only person who can give us peace." Ryan stood motionless, expression unreadable. When he finally spoke, His voice was rough with accumulated years of pain. Some answers are worse than not knowing. Trust me on that. He stepped around her and pushed through the door into the fading Colorado afternoon. Ellie approached quietly after Ryan disappeared from view. He lost his wife 5 years ago. Cancer. She fought for 2 years before the end. His little daughter Lily is the only thing keeping him going. The cafe owner's voice carried genuine sympathy. Whatever happened to him over there, it broke something in him. Something I'm not sure can be fixed. Victoria stared at the door through which he'd vanished. I didn't come here to cause him more pain. I just need to know what happened to my brother. Ellie studied her for a long moment, seeming to weigh something internally. He lives at the edge of town. Runs a small auto repair shop out of his garage. He'll be there tomorrow morning, starting around 7. He always is. Why are you helping me? Because in the 4 years that man has lived here, I've never once heard him speak about his past. Not a single word about the war or his service. Maybe it's time someone made him face it. That night, Victoria lay awake in a cramped motel room, staring at water stains on the ceiling that formed shapes like continents. Outside her window, the Colorado darkness was absolute, unmarked by light pollution. She opened her laptop and navigated to the folder containing photographs of Daniel. Her brother at his West Point graduation, standing ramrod straight, while their father pinned on his second lieutenant bars with trembling hands. At her college commencement 4 years later, beaming with pride. At Christmas dinner 4 years ago, the last time she'd seen him before his final deployment, carving turkey while their mother complained he was doing it wrong. She remembered their final conversation. Standing in the driveway of their parents' Connecticut estate, while his taxi idled. The morning had been unseasonably warm for early spring. Daniel wore his dress uniform with quiet pride. I'll be back before you know it, Tori. Keep the company running smoothly. Why do you have to go at all? You're the heir. Dad built Sinclair Defense Technologies for you. He needs you here, not overseas getting shot at. Daniel had smiled with that infuriating patience of his. Because some things matter more than quarterly profits, little sister. These people need help. And I have the training to provide it. That has to count for something. You could help from a boardroom. The foundation alone donates millions. Writing checks isn't the same as being there. I need to know my hands made a difference. Not just my signature. That was Daniel distilled to his essence. Always putting others' needs before his own comfort. Always believing individual action could make a meaningful difference. He'd been that way since childhood. Rescuing injured birds. Standing up to bullies twice his size. Then he vanished into the chaos of Afghanistan. And nothing in Victoria's world had been the same. When Daniel was officially declared missing, their father Henry collapsed. Heart attack, the doctors explained clinically. Brought on by severe stress. But Victoria knew the truth no medical chart would record. Henry Sinclair died of a broken heart exactly 8 months after learning his only son had disappeared. Sinclair Defense Technologies fell to Victoria at 29. A company that supplied advanced equipment to the military. Employed over 3,000 people. The responsibility of caring for her devastated mother fell to her as well. And somewhere amid all those crushing obligations, the search for answers about Daniel became her private obsession. She'd hired the best investigators money could access. Leveraged every family connection to military and intelligence contacts. Called in favors accumulated over generations. Every lead had terminated in dead ends. Until now. She picked up her phone and dialed. Tori, it's late. Is everything all right? Mom. I found him. The soldier who was with Daniel on that final mission. Silence stretched across the connection, broken only by her mother's unsteady breathing. After all this time? Yes. Tori, please be careful. Some truths have the power to destroy us. I need to know, Mom. We both do. We can't keep living like this. I know, sweetheart. I know. Victoria ended the call and stared at Daniel's photograph until her eyes burned. At 7 the next morning, Victoria parked outside a modest garage at the edge of town where pavement surrendered to gravel. The hand-painted sign above the main bay read Cole's Auto Repair and letters faded from sun exposure. Through the open garage door, she could see Ryan already at work beneath a raised pickup truck. Hands black with grease. Completely focused. "You came," he said without looking up. "I told you I don't give up easily." "I'm beginning to understand that." She stepped into the garage, her heels clicking incongruously on oil-stained concrete. The space smelled of motor oil and metal and honest labor. Tools hung in precise rows along pegboard walls, each item clearly assigned its designated position. In one corner, above a cluttered workbench, she noticed photographs pinned to a corkboard. A beautiful woman with warm brown eyes and a gentle smile. A little girl with her father's stubborn jaw and her mother's kind expression. "Your wife and daughter," Victoria said quietly. "She was beautiful." She was. The past tense carried the weight of unprocessed grief. Victoria took a breath. "Daniel wrote to me every week while he was deployed. Letters at first, then emails. He mentioned his team constantly. He wrote about one man more than any other. Ghost. Said he was the most capable soldier he'd ever met. The one who never failed when stakes were highest. Daniel admired you more than anyone." Ryan's hands paused on whatever component he'd been adjusting. "Your brother was an exceptional soldier. One of the finest officers I ever served under. And he was a genuinely good man. Which is rarer than it should be." "Was," Victoria said, stepping closer. "You keep using past tense. Is Daniel dead, Ryan? I need to know the truth, whatever it costs." He finally turned to face her. His eyes were red-rimmed from chronic sleeplessness, haunted by something that had taken up permanent residence. "The truth is complicated." "Then explain it to me. Please." He wiped his hands on a rag, lowered himself onto an overturned oil drum. After a silence that stretched uncomfortably long, he gestured toward a metal stool nearby. "An invitation. Or at least an acceptance. For years ago. Kandahar province. Our mission was to extract an American journalist who'd been captured by Taliban forces 3 weeks prior. Daniel commanded the operation. 6 of us inserted that night." Ryan stared at the floor. "The infiltration went perfectly. We reached the compound. Neutralized the guards. Extracted the target. Everything according to plan. What went wrong?" "Exfiltration. We walked into a prepared ambush. 20+ hostiles with heavy weapons. We were pinned in a valley with no air support available for 30 minutes. Victoria held her breath. Daniel made the call. Split the team. He took 3 men to draw fire. I took 2 and a journalist and ran for the extraction point." His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "Last thing Daniel said was, 'Get them out, Ghost.' That's an order. And you followed that order." "I followed that order," Ryan said, the words emerging like a confession. "I got the journalist to the helicopter. But when rescue teams reached Daniel's position the next morning, they found 2 bodies. Not 3. Daniel wasn't among them." "What does that mean?" "He was either killed and taken, or captured alive." Victoria's heart hammered. "After 4 years, could he still be alive?" Ryan shook his head. "Taliban sometimes keeps valuable prisoners. Officers. For ransom or exchanges. But," he met her eyes, "I spent a year calling in every favor, every contact. Nothing solid ever came back. And in that world, nothing usually means dead without a body. You can't know that with certainty. I left him there, Victoria. I followed orders. I saved the journalist. But I left my friend behind. That's what I know with absolute certainty." Victoria remained in Ridgewood for several more days. Each morning, she brought coffee to the garage. Slowly, Ryan began to talk more openly about Daniel. About their missions. About the brotherhood they'd shared. One afternoon, Ellie arrived with a little girl. "Daddy!" The child ran into Ryan's arms. His entire demeanor transformed. The hard lines softened. A genuine smile broke through. Hey, sweetheart. How was school? Good. Miss Patterson says I'm the best reader in class. The girl noticed Victoria. Who are you? I'm a friend of your daddy's. Lily considered this with the gravity of a much older child. Daddy doesn't have many friends. He says he likes being alone. But I think he's just sad. She tilted her head, studying Victoria with disconcerting directness. Your eyes look sad too. Like you lost somebody important. Victoria felt her throat tighten. I did. My brother. A long time ago. Is he in heaven with my mommy? I don't know, sweetheart. That's what I'm trying to find out. Lily nodded solemnly. Daddy says not knowing is the hardest part. He says that's why he stays busy fixing cars all day. So he doesn't have to think about the things he doesn't know. Ryan cleared his throat. Lily, why don't you show Miss Sinclair your drawings while I finish this engine? Later, Lily proudly displayed her collection. Crayon pictures of mountains with purple peaks. Flowers in impossible colors. A yellow house with smoke curling from its chimney. One drawing stopped Victoria cold. It showed 3 figures. A tall man. A small girl with pigtails. And a woman floating on a cloud with delicate wings. That's Mommy, Lily said. She watches us from heaven. That night, Victoria received an email from her investigator. New intelligence. Rumors of an American prisoner transferred to Pakistan 3 years ago. Description matches Captain Sinclair. Her hands trembled as she dialed Ryan. I need to see you. Now. At the garage, Victoria handed him her phone. Ryan read, his face going pale. This could be anyone. Or it could be Daniel. Victoria, don't do this to yourself. Do what? Hope? Even if this is true, what do you expect me to do? You have contacts. Skills. Connections. I'm a mechanic now. Your ghost. The man who never failed a mission. I failed Daniel. Then don't fail him again. That night, Ryan sat beside Lily's bed, watching his daughter sleep. Sarah's voice echoed in his memory. Her final weeks. Promise me you'll live, Ryan. Not just survive. Live. For Lily. He'd kept that promise for 4 years. But was surviving the same as living? Daddy? Lily's eyes fluttered open. Why aren't you sleeping? Just thinking, sweetheart. About the pretty lady? He smiled. Sort of. She's sad, Daddy. Like you used to be. Her eyes look like yours when Mommy first went to heaven. Ryan stroked her hair. Daddy, did you ever help people? Before you fixed cars? Yes, baby. I used to help people. Why did you stop? Because I couldn't save everyone. And that hurt too much. Lily considered this. But you saved some people, right? Yes. Then that's good. Mommy always said helping one person is like helping the whole world. The next morning, Ryan retrieved a phone he hadn't used in 4 years. Ghost? The voice sounded shocked. Didn't expect to hear from you. I need a favor, Webb. Information about a possible American prisoner in Pakistan. Colonel James Webb was silent. That's dangerous territory. I know. But I owe someone the truth. 3 hours later, Ryan found Victoria at the cafe. I made some calls. It'll take time. But I'll find out if that rumor is real. Victoria hugged him. Brief. Desperate. Grateful. Thank you. For not giving up on him. 2 weeks passed. Victoria stayed in Ridgewood. She and Ryan fell into a routine. Coffee at the garage. Dinner at the cafe with Lily joining them. She's good for you, Ellie observed. It's good to see you come alive again. The call came on a Tuesday evening. Ghost. I found something. Webb's voice was tight. There was an American prisoner. Transferred to a compound outside Peshawar. Been there for 3 years. Victoria gripped the workbench. Is it Daniel? Satellite imagery. Facial recognition. Positive identification. Captain Daniel Sinclair is alive. The words didn't register immediately. Alive. Daniel was alive. After 4 years of uncertainty. After countless nights of desperate prayers. After nearly giving up hope. Victoria collapsed onto a stool, tears streaming down her face. "He's alive!" she breathed. "Oh my God, he's actually alive!" Ryan stood frozen, watching her cry. Then slowly, he reached out and placed his hand on her shoulder. "He's alive, Victoria! We're going to bring him home." "There's a complication," Webb continued. "A rescue operation was proposed 18 months ago. It was denied. Too risky. Too political." "Denied?" Victoria wiped her eyes. "My company supplies equipment to the military. I have connections. I'll fly to Washington tomorrow. Make them listen. And if they don't, then I'll find another way." Victoria looked at Ryan. "Will you help me?" Ryan looked through the window where Lily was playing in the yard. "I promised my wife I would live for our daughter. I can't go back to that world. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to stand next to me while I fight for my brother." Ryan nodded. "That I can do." 6 weeks later, Captain Daniel Sinclair was extracted from a compound in Pakistan by SEAL Team 6. 0 casualties. Victoria flew to the military hospital in Germany. Daniel lay in a bed, gaunt and bearded, but alive. "Tori." His voice cracked. "I never gave up on you. I never gave up on you either. Never. I know. I always knew you wouldn't." They held each other for a long time. "They told me someone helped find me," Daniel said later. "Ryan Cole." Victoria smiled. "He didn't give up either. Is he here?" "No. He's back in Colorado. With his daughter." Daniel closed his eyes. "Tell him I don't blame him. I never did. He followed my order." A week later, Victoria returned to Ridgewood. She didn't need to. Daniel was safe. Recovering. Surrounded by the best doctors money could provide. Her mission was complete. She should have returned to Denver. To her corner office. To the company that had operated without its CEO for too long. But something stronger than logic pulled her back to the small town beneath the mountains. To a weathered garage at the edge of nowhere. To a man who had helped her find what she'd lost. Ryan was waiting at the cafe when she walked through the door. Lily sat beside him, crayons scattered across the table. "Daniel is safe," Victoria said, sliding into the seat across from them. "The doctors say he'll make a full recovery. It'll take time. Months of physical therapy. Probably years of psychological support. But he's strong. He's going to be okay." Ryan nodded slowly, absorbing the news. "He wanted me to deliver a message specifically to you. He said to tell you that he doesn't blame you. He said you followed his order. And that's what good soldiers do." Ryan looked down at the worn wooden table. But not quickly enough to hide the moisture gathering in his eyes. For a long moment, he said nothing. "Thank you," he finally managed, voice rough. "For telling me that. For everything you did. Thank you for helping me find him. I couldn't have done it without you." "So what now?" Ryan asked after a moment of comfortable silence. "Back to Denver?" Victoria looked around the cafe slowly, taking in the details she'd initially dismissed but now saw as charming. The worn wooden tables that had witnessed thousands of ordinary moments. The hand-painted menu board. Lily's crayons scattered like a rainbow. Ryan's tired but somehow peaceful face. "Actually, I've been thinking that Ridgewood could use some investment. Maybe a new community center. Better roads. Scholarships for local students." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "That sounds like quite a commute from your Denver office." "Maybe. Or maybe I'll establish a satellite office here. Work remotely part of each week. The technology makes it possible. And I have very competent people who've been running things without me for weeks." Lily looked up from her drawing, crayon frozen mid-stroke. "Really? You would come back and visit us?" Victoria smiled at this remarkable little girl who'd already survived more loss than most adults. "If you'll have me, I would like that very much." Lily immediately turned to her father with pleading eyes. Daddy, say yes. Ryan studied Victoria across the table. This woman who had refused to surrender when everyone else had given up. This woman who had somehow broken through fortifications he'd spent 4 years constructing. This woman who had given him something he thought he'd lost forever. A reason to look forward instead of backward. Welcome to Ridgewood, Miss Sinclair. She grinned. Please. Call me Tori. Lily cheered and returned to her drawing, already adding a fourth figure, a woman with dark hair standing beside the tall man and the small girl. All three of them smiling beneath a bright yellow sun. 4 years ago, Ryan Cole had buried Ghost in a small Colorado town and tried desperately to outrun his past. He convinced himself that mere survival was enough. That hiding was the same as healing. That the future held nothing worth wanting. Today, he was still a mechanic. Still a father. Still the quiet man at the edge of town who kept mostly to himself. But he was not hiding anymore. And he was no longer alone. And for the first time in longer than he could remember, tomorrow looked brighter than yesterday. 6 months later, Victoria stood in the garage on a cold December morning. Ryan was underneath a car, working. Lily was at school. I need to tell you something, Victoria said. Ryan rolled out from under the vehicle, wiping his hands. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. She paused. I've been coming here for 6 months. And somewhere along the way, this stopped being about Daniel. Or guilt. Or gratitude. Ryan stood slowly. What did it become about? You. And Lily. And this quiet life you've built. Victoria took a breath. And I realized I don't want to go back to Denver. Not permanently. I want to stay here. If you'll let me. Ryan was quiet for a long moment. Tori, I'm broken. I have a daughter. I have nightmares. I know what you have. Victoria interrupted gently. I've seen it. All of it. And I'm not asking for perfect. I'm asking for real. She stepped closer. You helped me find my brother. You gave me back something I thought I'd lost forever. Let me do the same for you. What did I lose? Hope, Victoria said simply. Let me give you hope again. Ryan looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in months. And slowly, carefully, he smiled. Okay, he said quietly. Okay. The wedding was small. Just family and close friends. Daniel flew in from Connecticut, still recovering but strong enough to walk his sister down the aisle. Lily was the flower girl, taking her job with utmost seriousness. Ryan stood at the altar in a suit that actually fit, watching Victoria walk toward him, and felt something he hadn't felt in 5 years. Peace. Not the absence of pain. Not the silence of grief. But real peace. The kind that came from being exactly where you were supposed to be. When Victoria reached him, she whispered, No regrets? None, Ryan whispered back. Not a single one. They said their vows in front of everyone who mattered. And when the officiant pronounced them married, Lily cheered so loudly that everyone laughed. At the reception, Daniel pulled Ryan aside. Thank you, Daniel said. For saving Tori. For giving her hope when she almost lost it. I didn't save her, Ryan said. She saved me. Daniel smiled. Maybe you saved each other. 1 year later, Ryan stood in the backyard of their new house, a modest place on the edge of Ridgewood with enough room for a family. Lily was playing with her new baby brother, born 3 months ago, named Daniel in honor of the man who'd brought his parents together. Victoria came outside carrying 2 cups of coffee. What are you thinking about? She asked, handing him a cup. That 4 years ago, I thought my life was over. That I'd lost everything worth having. And now? Ryan looked at his daughter. At his son. At his wife. Now I know I was wrong. I hadn't lost everything. I just hadn't found it yet. Victoria leaned against him, and they stood there together in the morning sun. Sometimes the person you're meant to find is the one who refuses to let you stay lost. Sometimes redemption comes not from forgetting the past, but from letting someone help you carry it. And sometimes, just sometimes, the quietest life is the most worth living.